That's James's deck dinner for today. It's some grilled shrimp and rice, peas, vegetables, and some, it's this sauce, the Shakshuka, whatever sauce, and a big slab of pistachio cake with mango and strawberries. And I'm just having a thin little slice because, well, you know, it's good to have the flavor, and once you have a little bit much, then you don't really benefit anymore from it, I think. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Move Over Darling, which, who doesn't love watching a Doris Day movie? It got top of the stack rating, and I'm surprised I'd never seen this one before. Brief Encounter, Breaking Surface, The Handmaid's Tale Season 5, Rogue Agent, and Those Who Wish Me Dead got the bottom of the stack. And James hasn't come over yet, but I've been waiting, and honestly, I just feel like getting the stick dinner going because kind of achy. My messages from my angels today, I had to cover up his food because since it's getting warmer in the day, the flies are starting to come up. My messages from my angels today were: honor your healing hands, know that you're qualified, remember to ask for help, connect with God in all that you do, slow down, and find the gift within painful situations. Which all of these make sense for me today. I decided to slow down by taking chamomile valerian tea instead of anything else. I had some hot lemon and honey too, but yeah, because yesterday morning, first thing I did, and I shouldn't have done it first thing, I guess, but I went to put Angel outside, so I went to lift her up out of her, she was sleeping in her little dog bed, and so I went to lift her up and went the back, so back is sore, but it's going to get better. I'm going to do that Bertha Lake hike on Tuesday. It will get better by then because I am receiving divine help to help me with that so that I can get up there. And yeah, it's amazing, you know, what 3.5 pounds can do. 3.5 pounds. But anyway, so I did manage to get some dinner made for James today. And yesterday I'd fried it, but I didn't want to heat the house up because it's sunny today, so I put it on the grill. But it's basically a similar sort of meal that he had yesterday. And anyway, that Shakshuka sauce or whatever it is, it just tastes like a boring chili, honestly. So if you make a chili and you don't put oregano in it or anything, you just put the chili and the onion and garlic, then it'll taste like that sauce. So honestly, I really can't see the point. It's a tomato-y sauce, so just add a can of diced tomatoes or whatever, and some chili powder, onion and garlic, and I think you pretty much got the same sauce. You can put a little bit of brown sugar in if you like your chili a bit sweeter. And yeah, I really can't see the point to that sauce. It was given to me for free. I'm very thankful for it. And James liked it very much. But yeah, it's just a lot of these instant things that are given to me. I wonder why the manufacturers bothered to make them instant. I mean, the things are already, it's really instant to open up a can of diced tomatoes. And I should reach for this, but anyway, yeah, Move Over Darling is kind of I read the cover and I'm like, oh gosh, she's married to him, he's married to her, and I'm like, oh my. It's funny because I get the most comments I don't get comments left on my videos. I rarely have anybody bother to like what I do, but I keep doing this anyway. I enjoy doing it. And, like James says, one day somebody might look. I don't know. Or like with my blog, I have, I think it's 38 followers now on my blogs. I've been doing it for years. 38. But anyway, so, but the most comments that I have, I think, are for my reviews for Big Love, which is a great TV series. And so I thought that's funny. So I was watching this, and it's great. It's not what you would think it would be, because I don't want to give anything away, because it's all in the, you get the story, and it's, when you watch it, it's worth it. So just watch it. It's, who doesn't love watching a Doris Day movie? You're going to love it. You know you will, because anything she's in is awesome. And it all works out happily ever after, and very traditional American. So anyway, that's that. Brief encounter. I should mention the date on this one. I mean, you're going to know, right, that it's from way back, 1963. Because I already told you it's a Doris Day movie, and you might have got it from the cover. And this one's a black and white cover, so you know it's earlier. This one's 1946, and it was great too. The first thing I found funny about this movie, it's not a funny movie. It's not supposed to be, and it's a movie about. It's sort of along the same or similar line, right? An extramarital affair kind of thing. But in this one, it's funny, they weren't intending it to be. It was, you'll just have to watch the movie. In this one, they were. But it doesn't, it's very innocent. You know, it's, anyway. So, the first thing I found funny about this movie was watching the two women on the train talking. And the one woman, her eyebrows are like little rainbows. Like, they're just ridiculous. And the other woman's eyebrows are also crazy. They're like some sort of an owl thing. Some shadowing going down here or something, like maybe like I think David Bowie had the same sort of eyebrows in Labyrinth or something. Anyway, it's interesting how fashions change. So, this movie, it's in black and white, but they really knew how to do black and white artful in this movie. There's a lot of shadows, and it's well done. So I thought this was going to be top of the stack, but then I watched the Doris Day movie, so. Breaking Surface. This one is subtitle one, and it seemed to be Scandinavian. I would guess Norway, but I don't know. Norwegian, yeah, okay. So anyway, it's really, really well done. You know that I don't care for watching subtitle movies really, but this one's good. Even though I don't approve of what the one daughter is beating the dog. But anyway, people do some funny things, and that's in this movie. So anyway, there you go. Handmaid's Tale Season 5. I like this one a lot more than Season 4. And if you're like James and you think, oh, this would never, this is not like anything believable that Christian Americans would turn into or whatever. I don't believe that it's supposed to be that way. And if you're watching this series, as I am, quite faithfully, surely you get the point. But in this one, there's an interesting thing that they're saying, well, the American refugees, nobody in the world wants them now, and so the American refugees are now in Canada, and people, there's like the truckers who were honking horns and stuff, what do you call them? The freedom truckers. So there's that sort of thing going on in here, which is interesting, right? So we're Americans are now like, oh, we're not safe in Canada anymore, and where are we going to go, right? Well, so anyway, interesting kind of idea. Now, if you are a very employable sort of person, if you've educated yourself and you like to, when you're able to work, then people do want to have you in their country as refugees or whatever. Anyway, that's a different topic. So I found this season much more interesting. Now, still, it's 4 down on the list, right? I'll just go to Stories Day. So, Rogue Agent. This one was based on a true thing. It has some stuff at the end that says so. Maybe I shouldn't have given that away because I don't know if it says on the case. Did it? Oh yeah, it is a true story. Okay, so it does tell you that. So because I hadn't read that, and so when I saw that at the end, I'm like, oh my gosh, he did some work on people's lives, you know. But anyway, because I was thinking it was just fictional because it's that wild of a story. But
is it a spy story? Is that what you said?
No,
okay.
It
Murder
is not. Although he tells people that he's MI5 or something like that. But
English, okay.
Yeah,
military intelligence.
Anyway, very interesting. And I think people should watch this one too. So we've gotten quite far in the stack, and I'm already, this one's worth watching too. It's people have to be wary of other people, right? And not just see a lot of people see, like we were talking about the top of the stack, was it a couple days ago, London Fields, and how sometimes people just see what they want to see and in other people, you know, and then after, and usually that's how every relationship starts out, right? They have this idea and they're like, oh yes, you know, finally this is the right person, and this is exactly what but you didn't know them at all, right? You had this idea when you didn't know them that this was exactly who they were, but then when you get to know them, well, they weren't that, you know, and it's like, why do people do that? Why don't people just go, okay, wait, I don't know this person yet. Let's get to know them first before I fall head over heels or whatever. Anyway, this one, I expected better from it. It's an Angelina Jolie movie. Those Who Wish Me Dead. I don't like the cover, and I don't like the title, and I didn't like the movie that much, but still, I think it's kind of interesting that this movie is about, she's called a smoke jumper. So, and I didn't know these kind of
She's a firefighter.
She's a firefighter, yeah.
I know.
And she fights fire. So she lives out. I met somebody once that lived out in one of those towers.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I've only seen one of those. Up in northern Saskatchewan, around where my parents taught when they were young, newly married, and then they went up there when they were getting fairly near retirement age. It wasn't exactly the same location. So it was Molinosa, Montreal Lake North, Saskatchewan. So it's kind of like an abbreviation for that, and roughly the geographic center of Saskatchewan. And when you're talking about the center, it's way up north.
Yeah,
by our
that's
standards.
that's the thing is
Really
Alberta,
cold.
people can live quite far up north, but in Saskatchewan it gets cold pretty fast up there, so it's a little bit different.
Manitoba's even worse.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
northern
people are just
Ontario is
crowded
the
right
worst of
along
all.
the border. So anyway, she's one of these forest firefighters sort of people, and it's funny because we were hearing on CBC the news lately, South Africa is wanting to send a whole bunch of firefighters, volunteers to fight fire. I don't know if they're actual firefighters or if they're just a bunch of people, random people. What are they going to do? Pee on the fires? I don't know. Because as it's funny that that's news, that this is, they're going to send, well, we've already had a lot of people sent from Africa. In recent years, we've had a lot of immigrants coming in, and maybe refugees, I don't know, but we're certainly
refugees.
Seeing a very noticeable changing demographic. And
it's amazing the change in the last year.
Just recently. So I don't think we're really having a shortage of people to fight the fires. I don't think that's a problem. It's if anybody thinks about it rationally, there would only be so much equipment around to fight fires.
Maybe they're sending equipment too.
Maybe they're sending equipment. I don't know. But it seems ridiculous to send people, especially all that way. South Africa is very far away, and it would cost so much just in terms of airfare just to send people that far. It would be ridiculous. And surely there's enough people here to do such things.
Yeah, so you raised the point. What they should do is save all the money on airfare and send money to employ unemployed people. There's a 5% unemployment rate here in Canada to go fight the fire.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that have come over from Africa to go to school and whatever too. Well, maybe they could do that as summer students. It's summer right now. They could be doing that. So I don't really understand. It seems like I want to call BS on it, but I don't know. I don't know the whole story. It just seems ridiculous.
BS kind of suggests it's maybe zero. It's a negative.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do is say, hey, Canada, take care of your Indigenous people. Hey, South Africa,
maybe that's
you
what
take care of your Indigenous people.
I don't know.
I.e. the Khoisan people.
I would like to think that there's some sort of a reason for it that's like that. I don't know. I really have no idea.
The Indigenous people down there are people like Hottentots and who are quite light colored by comparison with the Bantu.
Yeah.
Dominant there. And then the wee little
they're pygmies and stuff.
Bushmen. Well, bushmen. Yeah. Pygmies
Okay.
are up in Congo and near Rwanda and Burundi and stuff like that.
But they're smaller.
They're Bushmen, or as they used to be called. I'm afraid that's considered politically incorrect. But Khoisan is the linguistic designation. I don't know what the ethnic designation is supposed to be. I'm going to say Bushman.
But honestly, we hear all sorts of stories about is it the Bantu? That we're putting the Bushmen into tires and lighting them on fire?
No, I don't know about that.
Okay.
So Stompy was just a wee, I guess he was an adolescent who looks like on the orders, Winnie Mandela was. I don't know what they call it. Anyway, he had a belt made out of a tire, and then that was set on fire. Needless to say, didn't survive. Even after that, Nelson Mandela, this is an autobiography, calls her Comrade Winnie. Comrade, but, felon.
Yeah,
war criminal. And from what I can tell, he didn't divorce her right away. And from what I can tell, he divorced her eventually when he was running for leader. This is after so-called independence or whatever. When he was running for election around 1994 or something like that. Shameful, absolutely shameful. I think in that autobiography, it has a picture of her. She's dressed in combat fatigues or camouflage sort of stuff. And I don't think she was going to go out hunting for elephants or something like that. Rhino. She was a terrorist, he was a terrorist. And the folks in South Africa right now probably asking, are they communists? In their hearts they are. I know someone who should know better, with a PhD, was saying when I was saying Nelson Mandela was a Nazi commie. Oh well, like after the rid of the apartheid regime or whatever, they didn't go for yeah, that's why they didn't go for communism, because that's why he couldn't seem to understand that's why the Afrikaners and the whites gave up power, the English, in South Africa, because it was the end of the communist regime. That's who they feared ultimately, the communist regime in Russia. That's why they gave up on power. That's who they feared legitimately. What the commies would have had on the agenda was not necessarily as soon as Mandela took power, but somewhere along the line, what they would have done is what they did in Russia and a variety of different places, Eastern Europe after World War II. But in Russia, after the revolution, they had a coup, and they took over. And they would have done the same thing with poor Nelson Mandela. They would have, they wouldn't have sent him to Robben Island again or anything like that. They just would have done something like an ice pick in the head, as happened to Trotsky. I think that was 1940. So, what they're doing, they're commies at heart, but they realize, geez, we've got no one to enable us after the fall of the Soviet Union, and so they go, I guess we're going to have to kind of mind our P's and Q's.
Yeah, but I mean, so you don't think that this suspicious firefighter African thing is some communist plot to put in ground men to
It's trying
take
to
over the great Canadian North. Or
try
something.
to embarrass the whites of North America. In this case, Canada. Oh, you don't take care of your indigenous people. There's so many of these fires up in, I think around Fort Chippewa and stuff like that. At least the smoke, so on and so forth. So they're trying to, you can export the revolution. For example, I was just reading this morning. I knew that the commies took over in Ethiopia in about 1977. Well, the Russians came in there. I didn't know they'd actually sent advisors. So that's, you get all sorts of nifty, shifty, hefty lefties complaining about American advisors in Vietnam. They'd be leading, right? So what happened is the commies in power in Eritrea were basically down to their capitals, or in Ethiopia were down to their capital city, and then the commies intervened. So they had about 100,000 militia type of folks, like true believer card-carrying commies, presumably poorly armed. 8 divisions of Ethiopian army, commie army, and then 1,000 advisors, Russian advisors, and 15,000 Cubans, thanks to Fidel Castro and Mengistu, the people that these
So you don't
gruesome
think the communists are into South Africa like they are other African nations? Because I've watched shows about Soviet airplanes that are supposedly just going into Africa empty and going back to Russia full of fish, or buying fish from Africa. But
okay,
people were skeptical about that. They thought they were bringing in arms.
Depend on where you're talking about Africa. They actually had fighters there. They're called mercenaries, but they're not. So they're called a Wagner group or Wagner group. I knew the Russians were in a little more trouble than they were letting on when the Wagner group came from Africa.
Well, I think it was around Lake Tanganyika.
Yeah, exactly right. So, that's a horrible
Apparently
part
it's a
of
very
the world.
big lake.
Lake Tanganyika is a big, long lake to the west of Tanzania or Tanzania, and they had the Wagner group fighting. I think it was in Mali. I'm not sure exactly where. It might have been the Congo. They might have divided the forces, but it looked as though I figured they were having trouble there, but having more trouble in Ukraine when the Wagner group started fighting in Ukraine. Now, the commies in the form of the People's Republic of China, they're involved in Ethiopia. So it's Ethiopia has jumped from a frying pan into the fire. So they're the ones who put this stupid idiot who's in control and of who? Not the rock group, but the World So-Called Health Organization. And he comes from Ethiopia, but that's at the behest of the commies from China. I don't know how much Russia is involved in South Africa. Russia has huge support amongst the so-called Third World because they're blaming the Ukrainians for the food shortage coming from the Ukraine and Russia. And they're telling the Ukraine to surrender. It's absolutely shameful. Support for settler colonialism, really settler and colonial imperialism in the Ukraine on the part of the Russians. Third world countries who support Russia in this fight in Ukraine are thoroughly hypocrites. It's disgusting. I just want to puke. Maybe you don't. If you don't, I don't have much use for you. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're trying to get brownie points with indigenous people. Eventually, they'll be doing stuff like Gaddafi was supporting what was his colonel was his position or something like that. Was supporting indigenous people, back in the 70s. Take some oil money and stuff like that. This kind of stuff. Cuba was involved. Hurricane Katrina. They were sending doctors up. So when was that? 2005 or something. They were sending them. Hey, here's our hugely superior health system. Yeah, you flunkies. I guess Raul Castro's died too, but whoever succeeded those idiots. Like I don't. When was it Michael Moore was going around. Like look at this. The United States is 37th health system in the world, 37th best, and here's Cuba, 38th. Yeah, that's their stats. I don't accept their stats. When I was a kid studying the geography of the Soviet Union, it would have been something like the spring of '73. The book, which wasn't published in the Soviet Union, the textbook, was saying the Soviet economy is growing at 5% per year. Say what? It was stagnating. At 5% a year, it would have been, they were saying, I think there was 10% per year. Like in 10 years, it would have and they were saying the Soviet economy was 50% of the American economy. In about 10 years, it would have caught up with the American economy. No, it didn't. Because they were lying, not just to the world, but they were lying to each other. What was happening was you to get the head honchos, or honchos as we mispronounce it, saying to their underlings in the Soviet Union, you've got this quota, you'd better meet it. And then they're